marriages and relationships struggle because people do relationships and they do marriage through their feelings. And feelings are so in and out, up and down. They're not stable because your feeling is going to tell you whatever you hear in that present moment. And you're not going to stop and take a holistic view of your relationship. You're going to react to whatever feeling you're feeling in that moment. And I think that that's where society has done men and women really wrong, is because it's told us to do relationships, do marriage through our feelings. And we cannot do relationships through our feelings because they are so fleeting by nature. Did my wife make me mad this morning? Oh, the new cute girl at work smiled at me today. She must be amazing. Oh, my husband forgot to call me and say, hey, babe, how are you feeling today? Oh, my coworker said, hey, Susan, how are you feeling today? Oh, my God, he's amazing. These temporary moment-to-moment things, we cannot do life with one person if we do it through the lens of our feelings, because they're going to come and go and they're going to change moment to moment.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the Couples Development Podcast. I am your co-host, Coach Clark, and I am here with
Coach Mel, and we are a husband and wife team of relationship coaches. So what do you want to talk about today, husband?
I would like to talk about modern dating and the role social media plays in messing it up for everybody.
Okay.
Right? We often hear the phrase, social media is not a real place. We'll hear Twitter is not a real place. I'm going to call it Twitter. I don't care. Instagram is not a real place, whatever. Right. And people will say that. And for some reason, there's an allure to constantly find comments or threads or threads or subject matters that deal with the negative negative landscape of like dating. And if I was an alien from another planet and I just landed here and I used social media to determine what this whole thing about relationships is, I would never want to get into a relationship. Right? It's I feel like both sexes have basically gone into their respective corners and what's the term? Dug their heels in the trenches and are not going to be moved. Right? Women are saying, I don't need a man. I'm gonna get mine. I'm not gonna settle. Men are saying all women are gold diggers. They're gonna cheat anyways. Simping is, whatever. Right? It's like the same exact thing. And it really sucks. I mean, that's my intro. But we can definitely get into it a lot more, I'm pretty sure, pretty easily from the things we see. But yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to talk about today.
Okay.
So with that said, I'll start with some of the things I've seen. What I often find is that people love their, limiting beliefs. And what a limiting belief is, something happened to you personally, or something happened in your childhood or how you were raised that made you see the world a certain way. And you're constantly looking for confirmation biases. You're constantly looking for reason to confirm those beliefs. So if you think pretty women only date guys in, I don't know, expensive cars, right? What's going to happen is you're going to see any guy with an expensive car and any guy with an expensive car with a pretty woman in it. You're going to think, there it is. You're going to ignore the hundreds of pretty women that you see in everyday Corollas, Camrys, Hondas, Altimas, and everything else, but you're only going to focus on that. So a lot of times I feel like people search they're looking for the limiting beliefs to be validated. Right. And so why I'm saying that is what I'll often see is you'll see, like just recently, Shawnee O'Neal, Shaquille O'Neal, for those who don't know, I don't know why, famous basketball player, retired. she has been divorced and now she's recently married to a pastor. She recently made headlines that a bunch of guys were like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And this is why, where she said that, and she was misquoted, but it goes, she said something like, I want to say the quote correctly. She said, looking back, I don't know if I was ever really in love with my ex-husband. Now, how social media runs with it is this. I never loved my ex-husband. There's a very big difference. It's kind of like, let's say a man who, like, for example, Shaq himself said, looking back, I wasn't a good husband. Like, a lot of people can view things and say and think they were doing something correctly, but when they're looking back at it, they weren't. Yeah. So the way I took it, again, from a happily married space, was someone saying that they thought what they were doing, how they were carrying themselves in a relationship, is from someone who is that of someone who's in love. But in essence, it could have been she was in extreme like, or she was happy with the lifestyle, so on and so forth. But in regards to fully understanding herself and, you know, her ex-husband, she realized that what it really takes, she wasn't really there. Now, that's how, you know, us coaches, I'm assuming us coaches and people who are happy married can see that. But how social media ran with it is, see, fellas, this is why you don't get married, because all she wanted was Shaq for his money. Meaning, by the way, this is a woman who had a career in media. She was doing super well. And Shaq told her, leave it, have my baby, stay at the crib. Yeah. Right? She didn't want to, he did. Right? And so a bunch of dudes ran with it that basically she was a gold digger. And she knew what she was doing. She never loved him. She, I guess, put a gun to her head and forced 6 babies out of her womb, which is insane, I think, right? Or 5 and 6, right? And, you know, looking back now, she's like, oh, I'm not, you know, I don't know if I really was in love with him. And so, of course, the social media blog pages run with it. Shawnee O'Neal says she was never in love with Shaq, or she never loved him. And that's not what she said. But again, and how guys see that is they have a limiting belief that women only want money, especially if they're attractive women. They only want money. And at the same time, so you have to have money to get these women, but at the same time, she's only going to love you for the money. And then my question is, then why do you chase them? But that's the whole, but you can go ahead. I know I was talking for a while.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how if one statement or even one interview, you know, like Shawnee's interview, and she said, I'm just taking your word for it because I didn't read it or anything, that she said that she doesn't know she was ever in love with Shaq. If all it takes to devalue an entire marriage, and if all it takes to devalue, you know, all the children you had together, the life you built together, is one interview or one statement, I think those people need to really ask themselves, why was that all it took for me to devalue all the years that this couple spent together? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because that's for their own personal growth. That has nothing to do at all with Shawnee or to do with Shaq. That's their own personal issue to question. And to try and figure out, wait, why am I feeling like this? These people were together for years. They did have children. He did say he cheated. So why am I still digging my heels in to believe that all she wanted was money? You know what I mean?
Because it confirms a bias, and it confirms and validates their limiting beliefs.
And that's one of the hardest things about coaching is that when you go through the process of learning to be a coach, one of the first things they tell you is you're going to have clients that are going to resist setting goals. And I remember, you know, the students, we would ask, like, what do you mean? You paying me to help you reach goals and you don't want to set them? What does that even mean? And the teachers were basically like, yeah, because people will pay you to coach them, but they will still resist setting goals because they feel like if they set a goal and they don't reach it, then they failed. So they will still be resistant to setting a goal for themselves. And I view the story that you were saying about Shawnee and these men that were calling her gold diggers and confirming those biases the same way, because I think it leads into part of the reason people are having so many issues with dating is that it seems like there are more people that are more interested in confirming their biases than there are people interested in reaching the goals that they have for their lives. Right. Do you understand what I'm saying? 100%. Because reaching the goals that we have for our lives often takes dismantling the limiting beliefs that are keeping us from getting the things that we want. So we have to be open to dismantling those limiting beliefs in order for us to break through to the things that we want to have for our lives. And that includes the relationship that we want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, speaking more on that, because I feel like we talk about this forever, but
yeah.
I mean, I suffer from this as well, so I can understand it. But people get very territorial over their biases and their limiting beliefs. Yeah. And it's almost as if when you present them with new evidence, like, hey, by the way, it's actually not what you think it is. It's this. Even if it's to their benefit, it's like, no.
Yeah. The more evidence you show, the deeper they're going to dig their heels in. It's kind of like with kids, you know, the more you tell them that what they're doing is going to lead them into, a particular outcome, the harder they're going to try to prove to you that that outcome, isn't going to happen. So I view kind of like people with their limiting beliefs the same way. They're like, I'm going to hold on to it tight and I'm going to prove to you why you're wrong. So no matter how much evidence you show to me, I'm going to just, discredit it, discount it, pretend like I don't see it,
and they'll call that anomalies.
Yeah.
They'll call your evidence, well, that's not the norm.
Yeah.
Or they'll say things like, I don't know anyone.
Yeah.
Or everybody I know.
Yeah.
And no one. And it's like, if you know 1,000 people, is that even 1% of the entire population of the city that you're in?
Yeah.
Right? Like, let alone right? So,
yeah. And that's when you ask the person, you say, what's more important to you, being right about this belief or getting the result that you want?
Yeah.
Because you can't have both together. You're either going to be right about this belief that all that women want is money, or you're going to have the relationship and you're going to find the woman that you want. You're not going to get both together. So you have to decide for yourself which one takes priority, holding on to this belief or getting the result that I want for my life or for my relationship.
Yeah. And at the same time, I'd like to ask the gentleman, what does it do for you to actually have this belief? Because now, if here's the thing, right? If we're going to be real, if dudes were kind of like, they have this belief and because of this, they're disciplined and they're no longer, liking pictures on IG. They're no longer, giving OnlyFans women money. They're no longer, following certain accounts, whatever it is. They're no longer chasing certain women, everything, right? And they were just about theirs. They go to work, stack their money, and that's it. Cool. But it's almost like they say things and they're almost bothered that they can't help but to like their pictures. They can't help, but it's like a moth to a flame almost.
Yeah.
They can't help it. They know that this particular woman, who again, they continue to read the captions. If I look expensive, then why are you coming to me with no money or something like that? With the stupid, dumb captions. Wednesdays are fun. It's like, look at this ass, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Right? They're reading and they're seeing the things these women are saying, and they're taking these particular women as all women.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, have you ever gone to a grocery store? I will always use the same example over and over. Do you see these women in grocery stores? And when you go to the parking lot, what kind of car are they driving? Because these are the type of women that care about their image. So they would rather probably live in their car to make sure they drive an expensive car so they can look a certain way than whatever. I know I'm assuming, I know I'm generalizing, but it is what it is. I mean, you remember South Florida and South Beach and that whole, pretentious climate, right? So again, it's like they'll complain about, women only wanting certain things and ignore the majority of women who don't carry themselves that way, who don't come across that way, and act like they're not there. And then they'll call me as I'm speaking to them saying, well, do you go out? They'll call me delusional.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I think a lot of the reason why they want, some men will want to believe that all that women want is money is because it allows them to just sit comfortably in their victimhood. Because if I think that all you care about is money, then it can't be me. It can't be that I need to work on myself. It can't be that I may not be good enough. It has to be that you just want money. And the only reason you want that man and not me is because he has money. But there's also a possibility that there are other things about that man that she prefers than, the things that your internal traits. So I think that has a lot to do with it. It allows those men to feel like it can't be me. It must be the money. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think that has a lot to do with it. It's like a self-protective mechanism.
Do you think it's conscious?
I think it's both unconscious and conscious. Because I think, no, I do. I think
sorry.
Okay. Meaning what makes it conscious is that when that man sees a woman that he's attracted to with a man that doesn't have a lot of money, he will discount that evidence. So that makes it conscious because he has conscious evidence that there are women out there that he will find attractive that are not just after money, but he will discount that evidence. That's the conscious part of it. The unconscious part of it, in my opinion, is that he's lacking the self-awareness to recognize that there are things, personality traits that he needs to work on that are actually keeping him from getting what he wants, and it has nothing at all to do with the money. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
I think for a lot of men, that's really what it comes down to. It can't be me. It can't be that I need to work on myself. It has to be the money and nothing else.
But then again, then they'll say, focus on yourself, get the money, then you'll have your pick of the litter.
Yeah.
They get their money, very few of them. They'll get their money and get focused, whatever, blah, blah. And then the next complaint is what?
The next complaint is she only wants me for my money. Right. Because they're still avoiding doing the internal work. That's what's happening. The internal work it takes to feel worthy is what they're avoiding doing. So there's no external validation that's going to make you feel internally worthy. It just doesn't exist. Once you get one external validation, okay, this should make me feel good. This should make me feel good enough. This should make me feel adequate. You know, and then you're going to realize, oh, shit, it didn't do it. Then you're going to try and get something else. And then, oh shit, that didn't do it either. Because they're avoiding doing the internal work it takes to feel like you are worthy and good enough and deserving of a loving partner. You're avoiding doing it. Yeah. It's not only men that avoid doing it, women avoid doing it too. They're just avoiding it.
Yeah. No, I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, continuing on, that's, like I said, that's that side in terms of, they'll jump to conclusions and say things like, this is why. They'll see one example of, there's one we saw where the guy, his girlfriend was cheating on him or something like that. And, I think they had a baby, she had a baby, and basically he still took her in, whatever type of thing.
Yeah.
And you found out she didn't, and it was like, oh my God, this is horrible. And then everyone, the comments was like, what? This is why, you don't date single moms, because apparently she ended up cheating on him with her ex that was the baby dad or whatever.
Yeah.
And, and then this is why. It's like one instance, and then it's like ignore everything else in front of you. And this is what this is what society is.
Yeah.
And I feel the same thing with women too. It's like with women, it's you'll hear, especially Black women, right? Black women will consistently say, I want a brother, I want a Black woman, I want a Black man, I want a Black man. But at the same time, when they're sister girling it up and, whatever, right? I don't need no man, I don't need no man. A man can do nothing for me. I can do it myself, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, same women will complain that men don't approach them anymore.
Yeah.
I want your thoughts on that. Like, what I'm saying is, again, you need money in order to get a woman. You get money. Women only want you for your money and not for who you are. I'm going to do battle by myself. I don't need no man to get me anything. There are no more good men out there. Where can I find a man who's willing to provide and be the man and treat me like the lady I'm supposed to be?
Yeah.
I don't need you. I'm independent. I can do everything by myself. Where are the gentlemen who where are the gentlemen who don't want to go 50-50, who don't want to be independent, who will pay for everything, pay all the bills, this, that, and the other. I'm just, again, I don't know if I said that correctly, but I'm just lost. I'm just lost at the double-sidedness of everything. If you want, like, again, women want independence and they don't need men, and then they complain that men don't approach them and ask them out, and then when men approach them and ask them out, after the women go and say, yeah, I'm independent, and the men, when they're on dates or whatever, the date goes further, and the men are like, yeah, we're 50-50, right? They're kind of like, can you believe he went 50-50? Right? And like I said, you're doing that. Like, listen.
Yeah, if you're on a date with a man and he tells you to go 50-50, you go 50-50, and that's the last date. period.
That is fine.
Yeah.
And I receive that.
It is.
Now, me personally, as your husband.
No, I'm not talking about if he's already your man. I'm talking about dating. That's what I'm talking about.
There's
a difference.
With that said.
Yeah.
Right. As your husband,
yeah.
dating, boyfriend, girlfriending, or husbanding or not, I personally have never allowed you, I'm saying allowed, sorry for correcting that, right?
Good catch.
The women are like, what? Okay, right? I have never, like, you don't even, like, there's no alligator arms happening. That's me. There's a pride I have in that,
okay,
right? It's not, and no, it doesn't mean I control her or whatever. That's another, we'll talk about that after, right? So, you know, I take pride in that, right? But again, I'm just imagining myself out here as a single man dating, and I read on a profile or someone introduces me or whatever, and someone on IG, and she's all, you know, I'm a boss and I don't need no man to do whatever. I pay my own bills. I don't even I don't need you for anything. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm probably not going to approach you or talk to you because you literally told me I am not needed. Whoever the man that is interested in you is being repelled because you have literally said you are off the market because you do not need. And then at the same time, men are soft nowadays. There are no more gentlemen. There are no more manly men nowadays. Men don't build homes anymore. Men don't do this. Men don't do that.
Well, can I? I'm gonna say.
Let's get into it.
I'm gonna say two things. One with the 50-50 thing. In men's defense, sometimes they're just trying to do the right thing.
Correct.
So often when men hear women talk and they say, you know, the independence and all of that, sometimes men are saying the 50-50 thing from a space of thinking that that's what she wants.
I just want to do the right thing.
That he wants to do the right thing.
I don't want her to think I'm a creep or controlling,
but
whatever.
He would still be wrong for that because if that right thing is not authentic to who he is, he's still going against himself. If it's authentic to who he is, that's when he should offer the 50-50 because then he will find a woman who feels flattered by that and feels like her autonomy is being respected in that 50-50 offering. But if he's just doing it to say the right thing, he's still going against himself and he's still not going to date in a way where he can find someone who aligns with him. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, because often men are taught to date by say the right thing, take her to the right place, you know, wear the right thing, smell the right way, talk the right way, walk the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Do not tell her you like Marvel. Do not tell her you like anime.
Yeah, they're taught to not present themselves through the dating process.
Right.
That's number one, right? Number two, everything you were describing is basically just feelings. Feelings, like I always say, you know, feelings should just be, we should change that word to fleetings because they're just so temporary. They're just come and go, in and out, in and out, in and out. They're not stable in any way, shape, or form. And I think that what you're describing when you're saying one day women say this, one day men say that, and then those are all feelings. None of that is rational. And I think that everything you're describing is why marriages and relationships struggle because people do relationships and they do marriage through their feelings, and feelings are so in and out, up and down, one day this, one day that, 1 hour this, 1 hour that. They're not stable because your feeling is going to tell you whatever you hear in that present moment, and you're not going to stop and take your relationship in a holistic view of your relationship. You're going to react to whatever feeling you're feeling in that moment. And I think that that's where society has done men and women really wrong, is because it's told us to do relationships, do marriage through our feelings. And we cannot do relationships and we cannot do marriage through our feelings because they are so fleeting by nature. They're so temporary. They're so moment to moment to moment to moment. Did my wife make me mad this morning? Oh, the new cute girl at work smiled at me today. She must be amazing. Oh, well, my husband forgot to call me and say, hey, babe, you know, how are you feeling today? Oh, well, my coworker said, hey, Susan, how are you feeling today? Oh my God, he's amazing. It's just these like temporary moment to moment things. And we cannot do life with one person or even with 10 people or with 20 people if we do it through the lens of our feelings, because they're going to come and go and they're going to change moment to moment. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I 100% understand that. And
we just can't. It just doesn't work that way. But we're taught, society teaches us to do relationships through feelings. It doesn't make any sense. We cannot do relationships through feelings. You just can't. Because how you feel moment to moment is going to change depending on what type of mood you're in, what type of day you're having, what happened at work earlier today, what your mama said last night. Like, you know what I mean?
You're right.
It's going to change moment to moment. What you saw in a movie, what social media is talking about, like it's going to change moment to moment to moment.
No, you're correct.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that 100%.
Yeah.
Where I was going, again, the whole, like I said, the whole dating field and everything, it's just, I feel like really what it is people are making up rules as they go along to avoid pain and avoid feeling hurt.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm happy and single. And again, I know some people are happy and single. Yeah. All I know is, look, I'm a God-fearing man, you know, according to the Bible, according to what God said, is like, I'm not supposed to be alone. It's not a good thing. When I find a wife, it's going to be a good thing. That's what I know. That's what it is.
But just remind the men that he made Eve, not Eves, with an S on the end of that. He made Anne Eve for Anne Adam.
And then they're going to say, well, these guys are polygamous. Like, he provided for every single one of them. People just
remind them that.
Right. So you know, made them, and it was a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And so whatever. So that's just me, right? Don't think we're just supposed to be out here being alone. I mean, again, people who don't come in contact with other human beings, you know, there's this whole epidemic or pandemic, I don't know which one it is, happening where, you know, the whole thing about men aged 18 to 35 are like way more sexless than they've ever been, type of thing.
Yeah,
and
it's worldwide too. It's not just in the US.
Yeah, and they're also suffering from like basically no contact. Like they don't get to touch people. They, you know, all they're doing is watching porn, and that's it. And they don't have physical touch with the people. And so the whole thing about being lonely, as long as you have your money and everything else, is kind of like, for me, this is my personal thing, right? Okay, if I make money and my account has, so many millions in it, right? Other than to let other people know that I have millions in, so that they can give me fake likes and fake follows and fake internet hugs, what does it actually do for me personally to have it? Like, what is it? Oh, I have expensive things. I have this expensive car. I have this expensive house. I fly for expensive flights. Great. Now what? Like, having it and not having someone to share it with, or to spend it on, or to build it and create new things with. I'm just trying to figure out, what is the point? And I'm speaking directly to the women who are, I'm battle by myself. I don't need no man. And it's like, okay, great. You can buy your shoes and you can buy your purses. Okay, snap your fingers. You have 5, 10 bedroom homes made of every shoe ever made. Now what? You walking them. And after you walking them, what do? You walk another one. Then what do you do? Like, what I'm asking is, if you lived on an island by yourself and you didn't have social media, what value do those things have? Versus if you lived on an island with your husband or your partner, whatever you want to call it now, right? By yourselves or with your children, right? Then what meaning would it have without having these materialistic things? There's meaning attached to those things, in my opinion. So it's like men are like, this is why I don't date, because these women are this, they're going to cheat on you, they're going to this, that, and the other. Women are like, this is why I don't date, because these men are going to cheat anyways, blah, 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 blah. And now it's like, on TikTok, they're giving advice on how, even though women already know it, how to properly cheat or whatever, and to not get caught. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's this, y'all really want to be 40? No. Y'all like, I'm 42, right? I get it. 20, 25, I get it. It's fun. Just think. I know right now is cool, but just think, you really want to be like 39, 42, 45, and like, what?
Yeah, but women will tell you, yes, these are the men I have to choose from. They don't, the women are not saying they want to be alone forever. They're saying, if this is what I have to choose from, then I'm good. It's kind of like, when you
not good.
No, but they are, in terms of the alternative is what they're saying. No, hold on. Let me explain to you what I'm saying. They're not good, but they don't believe there is a third alternative. They believe that there's two choices: a single, or with these men that are just going to bring more drama and issues into my life. They believe there's 2 issues. And if we have to, and most women, if they have to choose between those 2, they're like, I'm going to take single.
And what I'm
they're like, they're looking for the third option. Where is the third option?
Right. I'm with you. And what I'm telling you, the fellas are saying the same thing. Okay. The difference is the fellas are like, a lot of dudes, again, they're not happy, but for the dudes that just want to get some and everything, a lot of dudes specifically target women who are married or specifically target women who are in relationships because I don't have to do anything.
Okay.
All I got to do is bang her and that's it. Cool. Right. Matter of fact, if these sexless dudes knew how easy it is, they would snap out of it. But that's another story. Right. If that's what they so choose. Right. But the women are saying if these are the choices.
Yes.
I believe women come in contact or come interact with professional men everywhere they go.
Yeah.
Or men who, I don't know, own barbershops or whatever the hell it is, right? The thing is that, and you have to admit that women, they can be a bit, what's the word I'm looking for here? Impossible when it comes to their list and saying the things that they won't settle for, right? Isn't there supposed to be like an 80-20 thing, right? Most people who find their person, 80% of what that person does is good, but they're going to focus on the 20 they don't get, and they're going to look for that 20 in other people, right? I'm saying this because people have the right to want what they want. But if you're looking for men who are 6 feet or taller, the percentage in the population is what? And then you have to ask yourself, what does you're 5'2.5". What does the 6 feet actually mean to you? Again, I like to understand. I understand. Yeah, I understand what 6 packs. He's in shape. I understand 6 figures. Hold on. I understand 6 figures. He has a good career. I understand, but I'm just trying to figure out, right? He has a good career. He has abs. He can pick up things off the top shelf for you, right? He's 6 feet tall, whatever it is, right? And that's the starting. And where you start is what percentage of men are in society is that? 1%? 5%?
Yeah, I agree with you that whether or not he has a 6-pack or he's 6'2", is it going to add anything to your actual relationship satisfaction? But it's the same thing for men. So we often want to talk like men and women are so wildly different. And again, there are differences, but we're not all that different. Both men and women want to like what they see with their eyes when they look at their partner.
Of course.
At the end of the day, though, what they see with their eyes is not what's going to make a satisfying, healthy, or happy relationship. And that's for either one of them. So it's just...
But do people know that?
I think some know that and they still do it anyways because they just go with that immediate gratification. So what somebody looks like is an immediate gratification. You see it, it's there, it's immediate. Getting to know someone that doesn't immediately have all the body parts you're looking for, the height that you want, the this that you want, takes time to get to know that person for you to start to feel a certain way about that person. That's what people don't want to do. They, again, like we were talking about before, it's about that moment to moment feelings. People date and try and do relationships and marriage through a lens of feelings. And it doesn't work because feelings are fleeting. They don't last. They're temporary. You can go through how many feelings within one day for the same person. You can go through a range of feelings for the same action from the same person within the same hour. We can't do dating and relationships and marriage through a feeling lens. We can't. It just doesn't work out. That's why the majority of relationships don't work out.
What lens should it be?
Through a conscious lens, meaning through leaning a little bit more on the practical end of things. Relationships and dating, to answer your question, relationships and dating should be done through a more practical lens, through a more conscious lens. Because when you're doing it consciously, those decisions are not fleeting decisions. They're not moment to moment. Meaning if you choose someone to date based on their values are pretty much stable for life. It's unlikely to change. Do you understand what I'm saying? It can change, but it's very, very unlikely for people's values to change. Those are core and central to who we are as people. So if we date and do relationships through a values-based lens, we're making a more practical decision that isn't as temporary as our feeling moment to moment.
And that's more conscious.
That's more conscious because you'd have to go and say, one, figure out what your values are, because who was raised to figure out what their values are? Whose parents said, hey, here's a list of values. Which ones do you feel like, resonate with you? Nobody did that for us, right? Yeah. Most people, if you go on the street and you just go, take polls, what are your top 3 values? Most people would stumble on that question to even name them, right? So if you can't even name them for yourself, how are you going to spot them in another person?
Wow.
You can't even name it. You don't even know what they are for yourself.
You have to know what your core value.
You have to. And it's and because when you recognize that core values is what really makes it last in the most satisfying, fulfilling, and happy way possible, you're able to also extend grace to your partner when those feelings start to go up and down, because you recognize that that foundation of values is stable. So even when they're annoying you, irritating you, forgetting to call, leaving the laundry on the floor, she's wearing her bonnet every night, all that foundation of your values that you share together keeps the relationship stable.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And Western society has done a shitty job, and it really has, at helping us recognize that it's not about the loving feeling that you feel in the beginning of the chemistry. That's going to flow away real quick, right? It's not about how hot you think she is, how great his six-pack looks. None of that is going to make your relationship secure. None of that's going to make you happy long-term. None of that's going to make you feel safe long-term. It just doesn't work that way. Yeah. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't.
Why is it so hard for people why do you think it's so hard for people to adopt it and fully understand that? If they've gone through it, they've gone through the gamut, they've gone through different relationships where they've, look at that ass, or, look at his six-pack, or, he has an expensive car, or, she beautiful, whatever the hell it is, right?
Yeah.
And they know, you can kind of, I'm assuming within the first date or two, a phone conversation or two, you can kind of know someone's sort of intellectual level per se.
Yeah.
Right? They know this and they still continue to pursue. They still go with it, knowing.
There's actually a term for it. I don't remember the exact term, but it's something amnesia, which basically means, there is, I just remember the exact term for
amnesia?
it. No, I don't know if it was, I don't think it was that. Which basically means that because your question was, if people keep dating different people and realizing that the way that they date or the way they do relationships doesn't work out, why do they continue doing it? Did I understand your question correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say the answer to that is, I forgot the exact term, but it's something amnesia, which basically means that when we're no longer in a situation, we forget the lessons we should have learned from the previous situation. So we go into a new situation, and
no matter how many times,
we're going to do it over and over and over until we consciously do the work to look inside. And that's what most people are avoiding doing. Most people spend their time trying to see their worth in the person they're with. So because of that, they're like, I don't have to go internal. Because if she looks hot, that means I'm worthy. If he has a lot of money, that means I'm worthy.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Because a hot woman wouldn't want to be with someone who isn't worthy.
Right.
And a guy with money wouldn't want to waste his money on someone he doesn't seem as worthy.
Right.
So they look for the external validation.
Look for the other person, the person that's on their arm to tell them that they are worthy, versus actually doing the work to feel worthy even when they're alone in their room by themselves. People avoid doing that.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do because it's not a linear process. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like one of the things that annoys me the most that I hear people say, and I don't blame people, because pop culture therapy really does tell us that there's a way for us to fully heal before we get into a relationship. So what happens is people are like, oh, okay, make sure you're healed. Make sure you do your healing work. It's like, it doesn't work like that. Like, yes, there are big things that you can work on 100%. For certain, but you're still going to, no matter who you're with, there's still going to be little triggers that you have that you didn't even recognize you had until your partner pokes at that, trigger.
Correct.
There's no way for you to know that.
Yeah.
And pop culture therapy and psychology, whatever, has literally made us think that people can heal fully, and they'll have like this glowing light around them.
I've got it.
Right?
Yeah.
That they are enlightened and they're whole and they're healed and they have no triggers and they have no pains. You know what I mean? It's just, society should just really screwed us over. That's all that I could, that's all that I can say.
Agreed. And I'll even go into just a little bit of a segue, like with relationships. For the people that, for example, that get in relationships and find themselves in the same pattern with the same person, for say. And
I think it's called repetition compulsion. I think I could be wrong on that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Repetition compulsion.
I think,
who find themselves in the same patterns.
Yeah.
And, you'll tell them, well, hey, have you guys tried, couples therapy or, relationship coaching or couples counseling, that. And they'll say, oh, we did it once. And it's like, yeah, but this person's not going to change. I already know it. And it's kind of like, okay. And then, what I'll do is, I'll then ask them a question. Let's say anything that they like. Let's say it's a dude playing a video game. I'm like, question. How many times have you been playing this video game? This 2K game, whatever. I have to build my character. Okay, great. Did you only play it once? No. Okay. You've been in a relationship for how long? 4 years, 3 years, whatever. You've been doing it the exact same way the entire time. You've never tweaked it, never changed it, never anything. And yet for some reason, you just expect it to change and become better or not have any issues. And if you decide to actually, if you decide to actually do something about it, it's like, well, I tried it and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Like you're basically expecting to come out of your session completely repaired, per se. Right? And it's just like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
If it took this amount of time to get you where you are here, like, you know what I mean? You have to unlearn and learn new things. It might actually take longer the other way around.
Yeah.
So,
no, I agree with you.
A lot of people
couples can definitely do that, where it's almost like like you were saying, we don't realize that it took us 25, 30, 40 years for our brains to be wired where we are now. But yet one therapy session should undo all of that. And we can really have that expectation. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know. I just think in general, I can't fault people because we're born into this world as it is when we're born into it. So we just buy into whatever we see and we think that the world that we're living in is teaching us how to do life right. We just really think that. It's not until we get older that we realize, oh shit, like this is not it. Do you know what I mean?
No, of course.
So I can't fault people for it, but it's still our responsibility to make the changes that we want to make if we desire to get a certain result. If we don't desire a certain result, do whatever you've been doing. Who cares, right? But if you desire to get a different result that you haven't gotten yet, you have to stop and be like, okay, what can I do differently that I haven't done yet? And we can sometimes avoid doing that.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question. Do you feel like most women have a criteria that is a bit delusional?
Can you give me 5 things that you're referencing, and then I can better answer that question?
Remember that site we did where it was basically showing how many cats you're gonna have?
Oh yeah. I remember.
Right?
Yeah.
Meaning the list that they have, because women want, he has to obviously look good.
Okay.
He obviously needs to make $150,000. Obviously.
Okay.
He obviously needs to be 6'3". Obviously. He obviously needs to make 6 figures. Well, I already said that. Obviously, he, has to be like, not muscle guy, but he has to be a fit magazine cover model, right? Obviously, right? And then let's get into his character. He has to be emotionally intelligent. He has to be kind. He has to be caring. He has to be a good father. He has to be a good provider. He has to be a good husband. He has to be caring and gentle, and he has to know how to be masculine in the right terms and right times, and know how to be soft with me at the right times, and da-da-da-da-da. All while knowing that, again, talking about Black women, all while knowing the majority of us grew up without fathers. And if I say we grew up with our fathers, the majority of us grew up without seeing what a positive relationship dynamic looks like. And yet the men that we want, the men that these women want, they all have to have these things. And if they don't have it, I'm not settling. So I want to lead the witness with that, right? And I would like to ask you, is there delusion to it? Is there like, this man, whoever he is, whoever this man is, every one of you and all of your friends are after him. So then how does that work for you on top of that too? Like what I'm saying, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do think there's some delusion, but I think it's warranted. What I mean by that is it's delusional to think you can have something that doesn't exist, right? But just because it doesn't exist doesn't mean it shouldn't exist. So that's what I mean about it. I still think that, yes, there is some delusion, but some of it is warranted because men since they were smaller, should have been taught emotional intelligence.
I agree.
So that's why I say it is warranted for women to desire an emotionally intelligent man. Nevertheless, it might be delusional in terms of the number that are actually out there might be far and few, which is what would make it delusional, having that expectation. But it's, like I said, it's still warranted. Does that make sense?
It does. Do you feel like most women were raised by mothers who are emotionally intelligent? Do you feel like, I need to be specific.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Black women were raised? Do you feel like Black women were raised by mothers who are emotionally intelligent?
I'm going to say no. I don't have anything to back that, but I'm just going to give my guess.
Okay.
But I like I said before, the difference between men and women is that women hang out with other women. So even if she didn't have a woman in her household that was emotionally intelligent, chances are she will have a friend who was raised with an emotionally intelligent parent or aunt or someone, because remember, we're raised differently. So even though, if you think about millennials, or I think it changed with Z a little bit. It definitely is changing with Alpha, with the gentle parenting and all of that. So Gen Alpha, there'll be a lot more emotionally intelligent boys walking around, most likely, right? For those girls. The difference.
They can't change a tire.
Yeah, well, you won't need one soon. If these, if Musk and Bezos keep going, we won't need tires anyway, so we'll be all right. Those girls will be all right.
The girl will be like, "Oh my God, there's a roach there." He's like, "You kill it." Like, what are you looking at me for?
Yeah.
50-50 equality.
Okay. Well,
a mess.
Listen, to answer your question about the emotional intelligence, a huge part, we spoke about this before, is that girls are raised to be more empathic than boys are raised. Empathy isn't all that it takes to be emotionally intelligent, but it is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And boys are not raised to even have that part of it.
I agree.
They're not conditioned.
It's a feminine trait.
They're not conditioned to tap into that empathy.
I agree.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So I don't think it's because boys just don't have the empathy gene. I just think they're not raised. It's kind of like what we're taught to feel shame.
They were never raised to develop the empathy gene.
Yeah, because whatever we're raised to feel shameful of, we hide from ourselves and from other people. So if boys are raised that this empathy is bad, it makes you weak, it makes you soft, he's going to hide it from himself and from other people. But to answer your question, I do think that even though a lot of Black women were not raised with emotionally intelligent mothers, for a lot of reasons, because they had to take care of everything. So they had to be a little bit tougher than women of the past, I guess. But nevertheless, those same girls that were not raised by emotionally intelligent mothers will still have friends, girlfriends, and they would, because we learn through modeling. So if somebody models a certain behavior for us, we start to behave like the people that we surround ourselves with. Did I answer your question? I might not have answered your question.
No, you did. But okay, so cool. Men need to learn soft skills, especially, matter of fact, even if you're in the workplace and you're looking for management, you need to learn soft skills, right? They're going to
train them on that anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're with a woman, you hear women all the time saying, it takes a real masculine man to get a woman to feel comfortable in her feminine, whatever. So all these Black men complain, all these women are blah, 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 are too hard and whatever. They need to understand that. And the counter Black men have to that was, imagine men saying, in order for me to be masculine, you need to make me feel comfortable in my masculine or whatever, right? Because and it's as ridiculous as that sounds, on both ends, meaning like them saying it and also back to them, it's like they're saying it as a counter.
Yeah, but it's a lazy counter because both men and women are raised to be masculine.
Go ahead.
So it's a lazy counter.
How are both men and women
We're raised to go to school. What's taught in the West? We're raised to go to school, climb a corporate ladder, build a business, take care of yourself, pay your own bills, be strong, be self-sufficient, think about yourself, be assertive. Both men and women are raised this way for the most part, right? If we're talking about in our modern Western society.
Good point.
So when women say, a masculine man can help me to tap into my feminine side, what she's basically saying is that side of me that I've had to suppress from whatever age I was taught to suppress it. That's basically what she's saying.
Because it shows weakness and everything else.
Not necessarily, not just because it shows weakness, but more so because it doesn't get results.
Right. Yeah, you're not going to get, right. If a woman is in corporate America and she's trying to move up or get a promotion, being empathetic and being cooperative and being agreeable is not going to do it. She needs to assert herself, which is the masculine trait.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily aggressive, because that can be like, that can go a different way, but definitely she has to, she has to, hey, I'm here. Right?
Yeah.
Make her presence shown. Which again,
And I get what men say, imagine a man saying that if you are more feminine, I'll be more masculine. It's just, it's such a lazy counter. It just really is.
Yeah. No,
it just really is.
I understand.
Because all that she's saying is that I'm tired of wearing this armor. I want someone who makes me feel protected enough that I don't have to wear this armor anymore. And he wants the same thing. Do you understand what I'm saying?
And he wants to protect her.
No, I'm saying he wants her to not feel like she has to wear the armor.
Well,
he wants her to.
Yeah.
He wants her to be more feminine.
Yeah.
So if a man counters with, "Well, what if I say that?" You automatically are like, "He ain't safe." Next, and she's gonna just be like, "Next."
So,
and that's pretty much
it. So where I was
it.
trying to go is,
Yeah.
All right. You just said most women, in your opinion,
in my opinion,
you don't have
black
to
women,
for it.
black women,
black women,
yeah,
were not raised with emotionally intelligent mothers. Okay. Most black women were not raised with their, in my opinion, I'm not sure in their lives at all, or with their fathers generally in their lives either, let alone watching a relationship dynamic healthy in a household. Now, with men, men were also raised by these same mothers who, as we say, most of the time were not emotionally intelligent.
Yes.
And we also know, based on research, that a lot of times these mothers, to compensate for the fact that there is no man at the house, they would over punish and be strict with the young men.
Oh no, both with their kids. Period.
Oh, kids. Period. Sorry, right? With their kids. Period. Okay, boom.
Yeah.
So in other words, men and women, generally speaking, in America, grew up getting the same experience, seeing an adult woman raise them. With that said, and I mean, I get it. Men are supposed to be the ones who chase. Like I said, in the Bible, when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. It doesn't say anything about when a woman finds, because a woman's not supposed to find, the man is supposed to find. So
and the Bible also says that he leaves his parents and goes and clings to his wife.
Right. So it is what it is. I don't know. Hey, I didn't write.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Right. So we can't pick and choose what we read, right? So say, oh, why should I have to chase a woman? What? I mean, do you say, thank you, God, thank you, Jesus, thank whatever? Well, I mean, there's other things he says too. You kind of can't be one without the other, whatever. So with that said, men need to learn things that they were never taught by the first woman they fell in love with, which is their mother, in order to properly treat a potential mate, a potential, his lady friend, his girlfriend, whatever, who eventually beat her, right?
And that isn't just for her; it's for anybody he comes in contact with, including his children.
Fine,
yeah.
But right now, I'm talking about relationships.
I understand.
Right? Yeah. He needs to learn these things. Women Need to learn what?
I just told you what she needs to learn. But I'll say it in another way.
Yeah.
She needs to learn how to tap into sides of herself that she has been conditioned to suppress.
Right. Hold on. Okay. Right.
Okay.
But the catalyst to that, the start, egg for the chicken thing, has to start from him.
Not necessarily. She can learn to do it through therapy.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. No, okay, fair.
Yeah.
Because the reason I'm saying that is because how, and I know you hate this, but how men view it is it's always something that the man has to do to get her to let her guard down, which actually makes sense. Because to be honest, if you end up in a relationship with this woman, end up marrying this woman, you don't want her guards up with other men. You want her guards down with every man she comes across with. Doesn't make much sense, right? If anything, you want you would like you to be the only person she lets her guards down, right? If that makes sense. I mean, selfishly speaking. So I'm saying that because a lot of young black men and young black girls and boys grew up not seeing an example of what emotional intelligence is. And yet men don't demand emotional intelligence from women.
No, they do.
Well, consciously, no. Because the thing is, they also have to know what it is in order to be able to demand it.
I know, but they demand it without using that term, is what I'm saying. But they do.
Right, sure. Yeah. But what I'm saying is like the whole, being able to pick up on it. What I'm saying is, we just said that our parents didn't teach us this.
Yeah.
With that said, women still demand it. Well, the women who, again, demand it from men who aren't taught that. So then my question is the women who have these hardline stances that I am not going to budge if he doesn't have this, blah, 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 as opposed to understanding why he doesn't have this and seeing that, hey, he may be 6 feet tall. He makes 95,000, doesn't make 100. He didn't meet that criteria, right? He makes you laugh. You have fun with him, but he's not emotionally intelligent because he's ignorant to it. Let's say she is emotionally intelligent because she did her work and everything else, right? Being that he checks off a bunch of boxes, but certain boxes he doesn't check, is she settling for a man that she can potential for a man that she can grow with? So, because a lot of times in relationships, people don't understand that meeting the finished product is almost damn near impossible. Especially if you're in your 20s and 30s.
It's not damn near impossible.
It isn't.
We grow throughout our entire lives, so it is literally impossible.
Right.
For ourselves too.
But people expect to meet the finished products. So what I'm asking is fine, you need a man who makes a certain amount, cool. But it's like all these other check marks. Is there any sort of, do you feel like women should provide some leeway on certain things?
I think there are certain things they should, and there are certain things they shouldn't. And I think that emotional intelligence is one that they shouldn't. And the reason, no, I really do think that. I think
women weren't taught emotional intelligence.
Right. But again, remember when we spoke before.
Yeah.
Women, it's more common for women to go to therapy. It's more common for women to read self-help. Yeah. It's more common for women to go to growth seminars. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So because of that, there are more women that are doing the work to do better, to get better, willingly, without being forced to, like through their job. Or because, oh shit, my wife is about to leave me, I better do this now. I'm saying they willingly are choosing to do that. It is not as common, especially for Black men. It's getting better now. You hear more Black men talking about therapy and healing and growth, whatever. It's getting better. But nevertheless, there are still a lot more women who voluntarily do that work. And I don't think there's anything wrong in her expecting a man to also voluntarily do that work without life beating him down enough to the point that he has to do it. Meaning, I'm about to get fired if I don't learn how to do this. My wife is about to leave me if I don't learn how to do this. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Doing
but just because
fear, as opposed to,
versus just a desire to do better.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? The reason why I don't think she should compromise on that particular thing is because when we are healing and growing, being in the company of someone who isn't doing the work can make you regress.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a good idea for someone who is doing their work, doing their healing work, doing their growth work. You understand what I'm saying? Because we talk a lot about two people being equally yoked.
Yeah.
And someone who doesn't believe in healing and growth cannot be a good partner to someone who does. They're going to cause that other person to regress. They're going to keep them stagnant. They're going to keep them in a comfort zone. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So I don't think anyone, male or female, should compromise on that. If you're a man or a woman and you are doing your healing work, you're doing your growth work, you believe in healing, you believe in growing, that should be one of the priorities on your list, must-have requirements.
Yeah.
But one of the things that women can compromise on, I think they can be a little bit whatever on, is how much more than he makes. That's one of the things she can compromise on. How tall he is, obviously, is another one that she can compromise on. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, because why is 6 feet a non-negotiable? Like, do you even know why? Now, if your requirement is like, I want my children to play to be an NBA, star, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
but other than that, what's the not why?
Yeah. But that's the same thing with the men. That's what I'm trying to say. A physical trait there's no why behind it. We are conditioned in society to say what physical traits we should desire. People don't like that because people really do think that what they like is innate. But we are conditioned to think that's why the beauty standard is so ridiculous, because it changes generation to generation. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I agree with you when about the 6'2" thing, but it's not any, her desiring 6'2" and 6-pack is not any different than him desiring certain body parts. It's still a physical trait that really doesn't do anything for anybody outside of, oh, my eyes like that. That's what it does.
No, I hear. I guess, no, I'm with you on that. I'm talking about, for example, again, it's like, for me, it's like she says, hey, I'd like for him to look handsome. Like, that would be a plus, right? Versus, well, he has a 4-pack, not a 6-pack. Or what I'm saying is, like, for me, I get your point. I get your point.
People focus on the wrong things when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say something here real quick. And this is just a huge pet peeve of mine. We live in a culture now that has made dating for fun normal. People say they date for fun like it's a hobby. The same way they do anything else for fun. Oh, I hang out with my girls for fun. I watch movies for fun. What else? I go dancing for fun and I date for fun. And we've turned dating into a hobby. And it's a huge pet peeve of mine because dating is not supposed to be a hobby. It's not supposed to be something you do for fun. It's supposed to be something you do to find a partner. That's what it's designed to do. For you to vet people, for you to see who you're equally yoked with, to see who aligns with the vision and the values that you have and the goals that you have for your life. That's what it's designed for. But we now live in a culture where people think dating is a hobby. And you just do it for entertainment. Oh, I'm just having fun. Well, you can have fun with your boys. You can have fun with your girlfriends, right? You can.
Can they have sex with them?
But that has nothing. But that's not my point. Sex it's not supposed to be. That's not my point.
Some people don't want. One thing is, some people don't want relationships. They just want.
But that doesn't matter. That's my point. It's not. Dating is designed to find a partner. That's what it's supposed to do. You are going out there to find someone to be in a relationship with. And culture has gotten really loose with these terms, where we get to a point where we say things like, oh, I'm just dating for fun. You can have fun with your girlfriends. You can have fun with your homeboys, right? You can. You don't need to be with the opposite sex to have fun. There's lots of ways that you can have fun, right? I'm not saying that when you're on a date with someone, the date shouldn't be fun. I'm not saying the process shouldn't be fun, but treating it like it's an entertainment thing to do, treating it like it's a hobby thing to do, because let me explain to you why I don't agree with it. All the other things we do for fun, the other ones don't lead us into heartbreak. The other ones don't lead us into pregnancies. The other ones don't lead us into STDs. The other ones don't lead us into traumas. The other ones don't lead us into any of that stuff, right? But yet we're taking something as serious as finding a romantic partner and a life partner and saying, oh, I'm just doing it for fun.
And you're risking all that.
And we're risking the STDs. We're risking the pregnancy. We're risking the traumas. We're risking the emotional attachments and the heartbreaks for fun. What sounds fun about that? What's fun about that? There's nothing fun about that. There just isn't. Now, again, like I said, you have fun with someone you align with. You have fun on a date. You have fun through the dating process. But when you're making a list of the things that you do for fun, dating shouldn't be on there, is what I'm saying. You hang out with your girls, you go dancing, you go bar hopping, you go play ball, you go to the game. List of things that you're doing for fun, right? Because these things are not going to lead you into the STIs and the pregnancies and the emotional traumas and the destroying your confidence and destroying your self-esteem. These things are not going to lead you into these traps, but dating will. But yet you're putting on the same list that you're going to go to the game with my homeboys and hang out with my girls. It's weird. It doesn't make any sense. One of these things is not like the others. One of these things just doesn't belong.
I hear you. Yeah. I'm just hearing the people who are, well, what if I am not looking for a relationship right now, but I desire to feel a warm body next to me.
That I will say to that person, I will say, if you are a steel wall, I'm going to explain to what I mean. Yeah. If you are a steel wall who will not be bothered by an STI, if you are a steel wall who will not be bothered by a pregnancy, if you are a steel wall who will not be bothered by being ghosted, if you are a steel wall that will not be bothered by seeing that person on somebody's arm the next day, then do you. My point is, if you are not a steel wall, you are doing more harm than good to your confidence. You're doing more harm than good to your relationship potential. That is what I am saying. It is. Do you understand what I'm saying? I hear people say, oh, I just do it for fun, but I don't want a relationship. Cool. Be that steel wall. And find another steel wall for you to do that thing with. So then both of you, when you're done having your fun, no one leaves with emotional trauma. No one leaves with baggage from the past. No one leaves with any pains. You're both like, all right, good game, bro. And you go about your way. Right? But how many people do that?
People, either the guy or the woman, whatever, they sometimes catch feelings.
Right.
Even unless it's like some friends with benefits type thing where they kind of have this, agreement, but even then, you can't.
How many people have the ability to actually really do that? We do not.
You can't help it. You can't help if let's say the sexual chemistry with a longtime friend you knew, great. It makes you bond because you can't help. I mean, you can't help who you fuck because you can not be in the same room with them.
Yeah.
Right. Things happen.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. I hear people when they say, well, what if I don't want a relationship? It's like, okay, just learn to be a steel wall so that you don't damage your self-esteem, so that you don't damage your confidence, so that you don't traumatize yourself. Learn to be a steel wall and learn to spot another steel wall, and you both can do that together. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's it. And nothing will get through.
I'm with you.
It's fine.
Before we left, I wanted to finish this point. So you're saying that emotional intelligence should be a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Emotional
in my opinion, everybody makes their own non-negotiables.
Fair, but what I'm saying is like, women saw things, whatever. Great.
Yeah.
That still doesn't mean that they have emotional intelligence still, right? Because
anybody, you never know.
Right. Yeah. But what I'm saying is for the most part,
in
the Black community, there's no gentle parent. No, it's like emotional. No, it's like parent is parent and that's it. Right. Yeah. And that's what the woman herself is not emotionally intelligent or hasn't learned it. I know you said a lot of them tend to go to workshops. Is it most of them, do you think? Do you think most
I think
Black
our culture,
women?
I don't have the numbers on that, but being how our culture currently is, I do believe I'm going to say a vast majority. Yes. Because the way that Black female culture is, it is one very centered on currently, very centered healing, growing, doing better, 100%, breaking generational cycles.
You're right.
That's the narrative. It's very much focused on that. So do I have numbers to say the majority of Black women have done their work and learned to be more emotional? I don't have the numbers on that. I'm just going based on what I've seen in the culture. And I've noticed that for a while, the narrative for Black women that we've wired our identities around has been one of breaking cycles, healing, growth, and all of that. But now, I see that for Black men, it's starting to pick up a little bit. You'll hear more public Black male figures talk about therapy and, particular authors and this and that. But it's getting there. It's climbing. But Black women have been doing this work for a longer time, is what I'm saying. So because of that, a Black man is more likely to encounter a Black woman who has done her work than a Black woman is to encounter a Black man who has done his work.
Yeah, no.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand you clearly.
Yeah.
So okay. Do you think that a woman should seek a man who could expand her mental, who can kind of like, I can show you the way, right? Who can like show her things that she wasn't, privy to, or let's say she wants to have a business and he's like give that whole aspect to her type of thing, right? I'm not saying women don't because they're doing it themselves, which is fine. But what I'm saying is like, maybe I'm delusional myself. What I'm asking is it delusional for me to want people to pour into each other?
No.
Like, for example, I can see she's not a mother yet, but she's boss B, blah, 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 whatever, but I can see the potential in her. I know you hate the word potential. I can see in her being a great mother, and I can see that in her.
But how does he know that that's not a projection?
Could be, but people who are pair bonding aren't thinking about none of that, man. They're just in the moment. They're whatever, right? And the other way around, right? Okay. Does she have the ability to see grace, giving each other grace, right? Men who are dating women between the ages of 30 and 39, Black men especially, and they're dating Black women, especially. Again, I'm not sure white women, don't know, right? Okay. Who don't understand. And again, let's say a guy who is a professional, right? Whatever he does, I don't know, right? Makes 70 to 110 a year, whatever, right? Cool. I'm assuming this type of woman he's gonna meet at the office, lunch, whatever. Is gonna be a certain type of woman, right? He should, for him not to understand why she has a independent woman spirit, or I don't need I don't need a man, blah, blah, blah. He has to be super like ignorant, because the daughter he's going to raise her the same way all these rappers said, I'm going to give her this college plan. She doesn't need a man. He's going to want her to have all these degrees and all these this, that, and the other, because she doesn't want her being clinged to some dude who could take advantage of her, right? So for me, I feel like that guy needs to have grace and understand that, the certain specific women, if they're age 30 to 39, even younger.
What do you mean? Women ages 30 to 39 don't get dates. They hit the wall at 28. What are you talking about? Nobody asked them out.
Danger zone. Right? So again, and even her, right? 25, 30, right? It's like they're going to have their, rough exteriors. And why is that? Look at your mom, bro. What did your mom have to do? You saw your mom doing everything. Everything. She provided for you. She protected you. She everything, right? You know what? She did too. And so with her, she's seeing this woman doing everything, and she's saying, well, I have to do everything for myself because I don't want to fall prey to anything. And so the dudes will complain, oh, these women can't be married, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's like you have to give grace and understand that, hey, this rough exterior is there for a reason. Because she doesn't, honestly, she's ignorant to it. She doesn't know any different. She doesn't know any better. She hasn't seen what a positive example of a male figure in a household looks like. She doesn't know.
No, I don't, it's not that I disagree with what you're saying. I just think both men and women have to be careful to not walk themselves into a position where they feel like they have to rescue people, because then they're going to walk themselves into codependency. So I understand what you're saying, and it's not that I disagree with what you're saying. I would just say to men and women that if you see someone and you're like, oh, I think he or she can do better, there should be some present actions that are showing you that, not just what you see that they might possibly do in the future. That's all that I'm going to say.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not talking about that extreme. I'm just saying, again, everything is fine, but she's like, no, I want to pay for half of everything. Some men, again, in my opinion, real men, they're going to be kind of like turned off by that. But at the same time, by giving the grace to understand, where is that coming from? Is it about me, or is it about her upbringing and her lack of seeing that male example of how it's supposed to be together? And so, you know what? If I'm really into this person, if everything else other than that is there, right? She's good personality. She looks good. She's smart, whatever, blah, 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 right? I'm going to give and I'm going to show her what it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
right?
I don't disagree.
Cool. And I feel like that's great. She should understand that. The other end of that is the women. Not emotional intelligent. Nope. The guy, he's smart. He's career, whatever. I don't want to say nice guy. He's a kind gentleman, whatever. Right. But again, still, he's rough around the edges in certain things. Is they wrong for her to have grace to understand that, you know what? His mother, or he never saw his mother being treated gently or a certain way, blah, 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 right? Is it wrong for her, again, I'm not talking about no abusive situation, to see that, hey, you know what? If she understands emotional intelligence and everything else, right? To kind of like grow with him in that sense and kind of like, hey, let me show you something.
It will depend.
Yeah.
It'll depend. What makes it really hard for us as people is that we don't, it's not really easy for us to tell the difference between a behavior someone needs to change and if someone is developmentally stunted.
Yeah.
We're not really able to do that.
Yeah.
It's only the professionals that can. So it's really only therapists and psychologists and whoever that can actually be able to tell the difference whether this person has easy, like not that behaviors are easy to change, but they're much easier to change than developmental issues. Yeah. And it's hard for us to know that in dating. So that's why, it's very hard for me to say, if you meet a man and he's not emotional intelligence, give him grace. Yeah, you should give him grace. But I'll be honest. No, my heart says give him grace from afar. If I'm honest, because a huge part of emotional intelligence is empathy, and it's very hard to be in a healthy relationship with someone who lacks empathy. Another huge part of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, and it's very hard to be in a healthy relationship with someone who lacks self-awareness and empathy. Another part of emotional intelligence is emotional regulation. It's very hard to be in a relationship with someone who lacks emotional regulation. So when you take those three things, number 4, social awareness is also another part of emotional intelligence. It's very hard to be in a relationship with someone who lacks social awareness. So by saying that I will be in a relationship with someone who, and give him grace and be in a relationship with them, it's saying I'm open to being in a relationship with someone who lacks self-awareness, lacks empathy, lacks emotional regulation, and lacks social awareness. And I can't tell people to do that. Men or women, I can't.
No, because there are men who are doing their work and women who aren't. And so,
but men are much more likely to end up with a woman that lacks empathy, that lacks social awareness, that lacks emotional regulation, men are much more likely to end up with women who lack these things because men feel good enough if she looks a certain way. So she can lack the empathy, she can lack the social awareness, she can lack the emotional regulation, she can lack all these things as long as then I can make it work. I can fix her. I can rescue her. My love will change her, type of thing. They call it the Jesus complex. Yeah. It's called the Jesus complex.
So there's a Madonna complex?
There's a Jesus complex, which basically means a man
the woman at the well type stuff. Like who
thinks that I can fix her, I can save her, I can show her the error in her ways, and once I fix her, she will love me and see me as this godly person.
Like Rick Ross said,
the Jesus complex.
Like Rick Ross, a great American poet. Said,
philosopher
Rick Ross said, she used to fight with her mama.
Yes.
Then I sat her down. Now she is tight with her mama.
Yes.
It's a good poem.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on the Couples Development Podcast. I have been your co-host, Coach Clark, with my wife, Coach Mel. We thank you guys for joining us. Sorry we've been absent for the last couple of weeks.
Life has been lifing.
Life been lifing. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for not abandoning us. And, let us know what you think about this episode. Please, we read the comments, even though it doesn't look like we do. We appreciate the comments and leave us a like, hit subscribe. Doesn't hurt. Help us out. We're trying to help you. Take care.